Okay, welcome back. Here we're gonna go on to the Surahs, and we're gonna go from the 17th to today, which is the 19th. So just three, again, very short Surahs. Just the first one is two sections, the other two are just one section. So we'll get through these really nicely. First one is Surah 79, which is Al-Naziat, which means those who tear out. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. By the angels who tear out the souls of the wicked with violence, by those who gently draw out the souls of the blessed, and by those who glide along on errands of mercy. Then press forward as in a race. And for such as had entertained the fear of standing before the Lord's tribunal, and had restrained their soul from lower desires, their abode will be the garden. And this is nice because this is one of the few times that the Quran talks about the angels and their delegations and tasks. Again, we are in the theme of the rapture or the end of times in these last few surahs. And it's always mentioned, even if I don't mention it myself, it's always mentioned in the sections, right? And something that's a bit hopeful, it says, for those who had restrained their soul from lower desires. So this does not mean you need to restrain from all desires, just those that are designated for that lower frequency. Of course, we try to stay away from. And everybody is different. Everybody has their own set of desires or vices, right? You know what is good for you, what's not good for you. If you are close with God and maintain that relationship, you will know the difference. It would be very clear to you, and it's very personal. Like I said, there is not a one size fits all sin, right? Of course, there are things that we know not to do, but I would suggest that it is personal now, more and more personal. Okay, so this is from Surah 80, which is Abasa, means he frowned. And as soon as I read that, I'm like, oh no, he frowned. What did he frown about? And this is actually in reference to the Prophet. So we'll go ahead and continue. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. The Prophet frowned and turned away, because there came to him a blind man interrupting. Though it is no blame to thee if ye grow not in spiritual understanding. But as to him who came to thee striving earnestly, and with fear in his heart. So this is an interesting perspective. What is this? I don't know. This is, sorry for distractions, I just have to keep up, okay? So, though it is no blame to thee if ye grow not in spiritual understanding. So this is maybe in reference to the blind man. But for those who strive earnestly and with fear in their heart, those are who is really expected to grow in spiritual understanding. So we want to make sure in your journey of faith that you're not stagnant and that you're not staying in one place with your relationship with God. You want to be growing exponentially, if I don't mind myself adding, growing exponentially every single day. Even if that exponential growth is 1%, it does need to be significantly increased over time, the stronger your relationship gets. So by the time that this time comes, or by the time of your passing, you will be ready to fully embrace that love and be in full understanding and full renewal with Christ and with God himself, right? So that is that succinctly, okay? And Surah 81 is At-Takwir, which means the folding up. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. When the sun with its spacious light is folded up, When the souls are sorted out, being joined like with like, then shall each soul know what it has put forward. So verily I call to witness the planets that recede. Verily this is no less than a message to all the worlds. And this is something very interesting, a very beautiful portion of the Quran, Surah 81. We don't really talk about the end of times like with this types of terms. And then this is also a very small portion of the Quran that actually talks about other worlds and planets, and different things are mentioned about, not just being the earth. Of course, the earth and the heavens is mentioned a lot and it's referenced a lot. That's the focal point. But there are several points in the Quran where it does talk about multiple worlds and planets, and this is interesting too when it says the sorting out of the souls and then them being joined like with like. So I had mentioned that a soul can become fractured, or most of the time is fractured. So we get those fractured points together, fractured parts of the soul together, like with like, right? So your soul can come back as one, how it was originally, right? And then over time becomes fractured. Or maybe it did initially start out fractured, but there was a focal point and it did come from one at some point. So really beautiful language in that surah. And of course we always keep in tune with knowing what is being put forward, knowing that God keeps track of all your deeds. So make sure to try to make an impact in one way or another every single day. It's very important, okay? Talking for myself as always, but I hope that some of these messages resonated with you guys. Thank you all for listening, and I will keep up with you maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. We do not know, but we did know this weekend went by really, really fast. It kind of all blurred together, so it seems like I just had talked to you yesterday, but sorry if some of you were missing the situation. Okay, well, thank you again for listening. I will talk to you soon. Bye.